If you are, you're always welcome to come on. So this is titled "I Have Lots of Thoughts and You Have Lots of Thoughts." Um, and this is titled "Chelsea Handler Brags Again About Being Child Free, Points to a Faulty Study That Claims Single Women Are Happiest." Here we go. The comedian is back to claim that her single childless life is much more exciting than that of a married mom. But the study she references turns out to be a dud, and there is much more research pointing to the fact that married moms are the happiest, healthiest demographic. Morgan Stanley's prediction in 2019 projected that 45% of women aged 25 to 44 would be single and childless by 2030, a demographic commonly known for its substantial economic contributions. However, the implications for the already dipping birth replacement rate in American society are concerning. Even so, comedian Chelsea Handler has made it her mission to champion the joys of living single and childless. Earlier this year, she shared an Instagram reel showcasing a day in the life of a childless woman, humorously highlighting her freedom to indulge in her own pleasures rather than attending to the demands of motherhood. Recently, Handler has resurfaced the topic with a new video aiming to convince skeptics of her blissful childless life. In response to a statistic cited by Adam Sosnick, Handler took to Twitter to share her views, stitching her video with Sosnick, and she confronted his presumptive "what's wrong with that?" with a resounding nothing. She expressed her frustration with the notion that some men could digest the idea of a woman leading a fulfilling life without marriage or children, referring to it as small D-word energy. Sosnick's belief that women who are childless, unmarried, and financially independent at 45 can't be genuinely fulfilled met with Handler's strong rebuke. Let me scroll. Sorry.
Should we play this? Or probably not?
Sure.
Because the Stitch talks really fast, and then her responses are normal. So I don't know if people will be able to hear it.
Let's try it, and then I guess if it's awful, we'll tell people to listen to it.
And that's deeply irresponsible, by the way, and a little evil.
Pardon me, I'm just backing up in my morning cup of Chai.
Because there's going to be a lot of young women that look up to you and they follow that path. They're going to be awfully angry at you when they follow your advice. And they're sitting at 48 with their bottle of wine at 7 o'clock in the morning, lonely, while their friends are sitting around with their beautiful families, glowing with happiness and not, red-faced and puffy from too much wine that morning.
Listen up, Jedediah. I don't know if that's your real name or your sister wife's name, but I had some downtime between my back-to-back champagne brunches this morning. According to Paul Dolan, who is a professor of behavioral science at the London School of Economics, which is a pretty good school, women who are single with no children are happiest. Dolan says that recent data shows that long-established traditional symbols of success, like marriage and motherhood, do not necessarily correlate with happiness levels. And if you don't believe me, just ask this happily married mom of Ford how things are working out for her. I really thought those two were going to make it.
It was Lauren Burbert.
Town diarrhea together stays together. But apparently that's a no. Oh, and don't worry, Jedediah. This wine won't make me red or bucket. Since I don't have kids to pay for, I have extra money and I bought a hyperbaric chamber. So it's great for the skin, my circulation. So I can just drink and do as many drugs as I want, and then I come back in here and flip it and reverse it. Peace be unto you.
Okay, so that's the video. Evie has some notes and stuff that I guess this was part of my free reading. I'll link it so you guys can read the whole thing. They have like a counterpoint to that, obviously, but I wanted to discuss the Chelsea Handler of it all. That's why I wanted to do it. It's just about the idea of being 44, single, and unhappy. If you don't mind, I'd like to go first.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So as the 28-year-old single without any prospects, I think about this a lot. Obviously, most of my friends are married. Even my super young friends are married. And it does cross my mind a lot because I'm a girl and I am, as we've established, I'm a girly girl. So obviously I want to be married. I wanted to have the beautiful wedding and the gowns and have bridesmaids. I wanted to do the whole shebang and like find a nice prince and everything. But once you hit a certain age, you kind of have to realize that, like, your prince could come, but you need to be doing, like, you can't, you got to do something. So that's why a lot of women are in the workforce. Part of the reason, they're working and doing things, even though I would work, but I definitely would be doing something completely different. I'd actually be doing something I love. So, you know, that's part of the reason why women are doing that. But because after you hit a certain age, you can't just, you have to contribute to society. It just isn't right if you don't. So I think that, yeah, so this is something I think about a lot. A couple of things. There was a tweet going around this week too, where someone was saying how they were in their late 20s, early 30s, and they were single. And they said, how often are you singles? Is anyone getting hugs or having human touch? How often in your 20s and 30s are you having human touch if you're single and you're not dating? And, you know, all these people were saying, you know, not all these people, but a couple people were like, yeah, I don't really have blah, blah, blah. I was like, that's really sad. I feel human touch almost daily. I cannot relate to that. I also am a hugger. I also have really good friends. You know, my brother's my best friend. So, like, I cannot relate to that. I go out, I do things. And I think, and not only that, like, I do things outside of myself. I think that's kind of all that to say, I think it really what it boils down to, whether you're the 44 single cat lady that's never, you know, that's just sad and going to die alone. I think that all boils down to, like, what are you doing in your singleness? I think that's where conservatives, really, because that's who's kind of talking about this the most, that's where they get it wrong. Just because you do not get married, you know, before 25 doesn't mean you're going to die alone with cats, a super successful woman. It just means you didn't get married before 25, because there are plenty of people who are happy and fulfilled and who are doing things that are single.
Right.
That's the part that I think we're really, really missing. Like, I can't really complain too much about the aspect of my life that I do not necessarily like. Is not because of my singleness. Like, it wouldn't change. Like, if I still had this thing, me being single, me being married wouldn't change that. The other aspects of my life that I love are just that I love. Like, I'm not going to, you know, like, I'm not sad because I'm single type of thing. Like, I'm not missing out on anything because I'm not a mom. Are these things that I desire? Absolutely. But you don't have to be super sad and lonely and, like,
and living in the future, living in the what if.
Right. And, like, be a cat lady, because that's another thing too that they're always talking about. Like, I mean, I don't even like cats like that. Like, you don't have to be all that just because you're single. Especially, you know, I've talked to a couple girls who are I know I'm always talking to people. I talked to a couple girls who are, like, I would say they're I want to say she's like 22, 23, and she's single, and she was just kind of expressing to me that she's getting a little nervous. And I'm like, 22, 23, that's still fairly young. No problem with you getting married if you found the person, do it or not. But I don't think you shouldn't be thinking about your future as a cat lady at that point.
Right.
I think sometimes we have like, I think cat lady stuff around 30, you know, that's when you should start thinking, like, oh, is this gonna, no, I'm just joking. I don't think you should ever be thinking about that, because, like, you can still have a nice, fun, successful, are you involved in your church? Are you doing, helping your friends? Are you having fun with your friends? Are you helping people in your community? Like, there's just so many things that, like, it doesn't have to be this awful, evil thing, like singleness. And my concern with everyone being such a hyper, like, gotta get married, is people are going to be settling. And what do I mean by settling?
Oh my gosh. Yes. I love that.
And what do I mean by settling? I don't mean like, oh, he doesn't make a lot of money. I mean, like, he's addicted to pornography.
Yeah.
But he says he's a Christian. And let me tell you, there's tons of guys out there. When I say settling, I mean he is not mature And I don't mean like, oh, he is, no, I mean like he's immature.
Yeah.
Like he is not ready. But he's a Christian, and you're so scared that you're going to get married. You're going to be 30. That is my concern when I see this. I am very pro getting married young. If I could do it again, I would. I mean, why would have... That doesn't make sense because I can't just marry myself. If I had the option, I was going to say,
like,
I would have
married.
Like to. I would have liked to get married young. That's what I mean. Because I was like, there's no one asked me. There's no way I would have been able to get married young. Okay. Yeah. If I had your choice. Option, if I had the choice, I would have gotten married young. Sure. So I'm not against that at all. I just think that the idea that if you don't get married at like if you get married older than 25, or I'm sorry, if you don't get married before 25, you're going to be this evil, awful, like slob Chelsea Handler. Yeah. You're going to be Chelsea. I just reject that because I know that's just not true. I reject that premise. You don't have to be like that. And Chelsea Handler, like, I think when people are discussing, they do make some good points. It does sound kind of like a selfish life. I don't know her full story. I don't know. I mean, she's not my type of humor. I know next to nothing about her, but from her, I'm childless and happy. Like, it does kind of almost feel like thou doth protest too much as well. But then again, no one else is saying they're childless and happy. Like, no one else is doing that. So I understand, like, wanting to push against that narrative. But, you know, it does almost feel like thou doth protest too much. I think that you have to realize that your life path is your life path. And try not to get into your head about like everybody else's. And this is coming from someone who labored. I mean, I labored over this marriage thing for years. I'm just now kind of being okay with like, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Like, do I desire it? Sure. But if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I can still have a nice, fulfilling life. I can still be there for my friends. I can still, I'm still going to be around babies. Like that's something that's going to happen. And realize I'm not in control of that. At the end of the day, like I said a couple minutes ago, you can't marry yourself. You have to meet somebody. And if that person you're supposed to be with doesn't cross paths with you, then they just don't cross paths with you. All that to say, you don't have to live the Chelsea Handler life of drinking wine in a hyperbolic chamber. That sounds lame to me too. Like, why are you drinking so much that you need a hyperbolic chamber? And why are you drinking by yourself? So like, you don't have to live that life if you're single. Yeah. All right, that's it.
No, I
completely, as a married woman.
No, I completely agree with all of you. It makes me think about vocations, which is what you were getting at. Like, Mother Teresa wasn't called to married life. I mean, look how fruitful she was. I think we can produce fruits in ways other than physical fruits, like fruits of children. We can be spiritual mothers. We can have community. We can use our gifts in ways that maybe we didn't plan to, but maybe those are the ways that God plans for us to. Yeah. So I wonder, I also wondered, like, who is she trying to convince? I mean, you kind of touched on it. Like, why are you so hyper concerned about me believing that you're happy? Like, if somebody were to say, like, oh, Freeman and Andy, yeah, can't you see them? Oh my gosh, no, they are so not happy. I'd be like, I'm sorry you feel that way,
Right.
That would be the extent of my concern. But like, if we really weren't happy, I'd be like, what? Yes, we are. Like, why would you say that? Did something happen? Did he say something? Did you see something? You know what I mean? Like, I would be really concerned if I was trying to like compensate for something. So I'm just definitely worried for her that like, this is taking so much of her time and energy that she feels like she has to she's so concerned about you and I believing her that she's really happy. I mean, if she was really happy, it shouldn't matter what we think.
Yeah. And kind of piggybacking off of that, and I think that in your singleness, I mean, first of all, Paul says it's better to remain single anyway. So that's the first thing. Second thing, in your singleness, the Bible does say, like, this is the time to, like, as Christians, she's definitely not a Christian. At least she doesn't claim to be, and there's no fruit. I'm not trying to judge. But, as Christians, like, we're called to do things, to be active. And to me, I feel like singleness would really suck more if you're just, I'm waking up at 7 a.m. and I'm drinking till I
Yeah.
need a hyperbolic chamber. Ha 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 ha. I haven't, donated to my PRC. You wouldn't catch me folding clothes. Oh,
Yeah.
helping my neighbor's child, not today. Like
They're
stuff like,
slobbery. No thanks.
yeah, like that seems like a sad life to
Yeah.
me. The overall singleness, not so much. Like I said, like you can do so much more. I mean, I even think about certain things like I can come and go as I please without having to run it by anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And
Exactly.
yeah, like, so there's, and with that, I can possibly, let's say I get a call in the middle of the night, just something right. And Jane from the pregnancy center in our town's like, Mallory, we need someone to go and
pick up a mom.
Pick up a mom. I can
going into labor. Go get her.
Right. I can be like, okay, all right, give me a second, because she'd have to call my phone 3 times. I do put it on do not disturb, so all right, I'll do it. But for example, like my mom has to tell my dad,
right.
And like there's just
run
so
it by you guys and let you know
exactly where I can just get up and go, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like that, this is also why I think singleness kind of exists, because not everybody, like God isn't. We're not promised a spouse. And I know that's very controversial. People get very like, about that. But we're not promised a spouse. And that's okay. God is so good either way. But I think that like in the singleness, you really like selflessness is really what singleness should also be about. And marriage should be about selflessness.
Exactly.
So your selflessness, your whole life. Exactly. And it should be like a seamless, pretty much, like the selflessness should be seamless. You should be learning your selflessness, because when we're children, we're selfish. By the time I'm 28, by the time you're 28, you need to have a little bit of selflessness, okay? No shade to those who aren't, but like Chelsea, like you need to have a little bit of selflessness. And I think that selflessness seamlessly works into your marriage. If that is what happens. And you could get married at 50 and have a wonderful, beautiful, fruitful marriage where you adopt kids that needed love, or you have a Sarah moment where you have kids at 60. I mean, that's anything is possible. The idea is just to go along with what God has. Like God's plan is going to be so much greater than anything that you can come up with. And once again, I'm saying this as someone who, like, I would not have said this 3 years ago. I would not have said this 3 years ago. So like, if you were kind of like, oh, I don't know about what I'm saying, like I get it. Get it. But like eventually you come to this conclusion. That's all I've got to say.
Well, I think it's just important that like in our Christian spaces, we have a variety of vocations, a variety of stages of life. And it doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. It doesn't mean that anything you've done has contributed to just that this hasn't been God's plan for you. So I love that this space can be diverse in all the right ways.
This was such a diverse episode. Almost every single topic we've discussed, we've had the diverse
perspectives.
Perspectives. And I think and we're gonna wrap it up. We actually had 2 more stories, but it's over an hour. So we're gonna wrap this up. And I just think that whatever.
Holy Spirit-led conversation.
Seriously, this was a good conversation. And I really do like that we have the different perspectives, because I really want to emphasize that, like, we all don't have to think exactly the same, because we also have all had different life experiences. And I think that really kind of encompasses it. But here's what differs us from, others, is that we're all coming at this from, we're saying that we are your sisters in Christ, that we are Christians, and we're coming at it from what we believe is a biblically based perspective. So even if you disagree with a different perspective, or if you disagree, like, just know that we're coming at it from this, and you can have a conversation with us and on the app from just knowing that established part that, like, we're saying what we believe is biblically based. Thank you guys, everyone, so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this. It was a different episode. It wasn't, not our usual, like, I don't know. It was a different episode.
No, but like last week we were like, are you flat phobic?
Yeah. Last week was a little sillier. This week was a little more serious. So let us know which one you prefer, serious or silly. We'll continue to do both, but it'd be nice to know which one you like. And also share this episode with all of your friends. I think this is a great episode to share with friends who are kind of like on the fence about birth control, or they're kind of on the fence about what it means to be like Christian, and like what are your Christian beliefs on this. I think this is a great episode to share with them. I will come up with an idea for the question on Spotify and YouTube. Haven't the foggiest at this moment. It's also kind of late.
We could ask, are you going to be the first in line for Barbie, or are you more going there with friends?
Oh, that's a good one.
Get people to think about this, and you're invited. Even if you don't feel like you're completely on the bandwagon, you're still invited.
Yes, and it's okay if you're not hyper feminine.
Yeah,
I want to reiterate that. It is okay.
And it's okay if you are. If you're a Mallory, then we love it. You're here.